My husband's family tried to steal our lottery winnings, but I had a secret weapon. His dead grandfather's will. My husband, Mark 32M, and I, 31F, have been together for 10 years, married for 5. We have a beautiful 3-year-old daughter, Lily. Our life wasn't always easy. Mark comes from a very wealthy family, but he was essentially disowned when he chose to pursue a career in teaching rather than taking over the family business. His parents, Robert and Susan, are incredibly snobbish and have always looked down on me because I come from a working class background. His older brother, David, 35M, is a carbon copy of his father, arrogant, entitled, and obsessed with money and appearances. David is married to Sarah, 34F, who is just as materialistic. The only person in Mark's family who ever truly accepted me and loved Mark for who he was his grandfather, Arthur. Arthur passed away 2 years ago, and we miss him dearly. He was a kind, generous man who always told Mark he was proud of him for following his heart. About 6 months ago, our lives changed overnight. Mark, on a whim, bought a lottery ticket. He never does this, but he had a feeling. And that feeling paid off. We won $20 million. We were absolutely ecstatic. We had always dreamed of being financially stable enough to provide a comfortable life for Lily, maybe even buy a house with a yard, something that felt impossible on a teacher's salary. We decided to be smart about it. We consulted financial advisors, paid off our small debts, set up college funds for Lily, and invested the rest wisely. We bought a modest, beautiful home, nothing ostentatious, but it was ours. We continued to work our jobs, wanting to maintain a sense of normalcy. But the financial security was a huge relief that we made the mistake of telling Mark's parents. We thought perhaps this might finally bridge the gap. Maybe they would see that Mark was successful in his own right, that we weren't a burden. Boy, were we wrong. The first hint of trouble came during a family dinner at Robert and Susan's mansion. They had insisted we come over to celebrate our good fortune. From the moment we arrived, the atmosphere was thick with a kind of predatory politeness. David and Sarah were there, too, their eyes practically gleaming. "So, Mark, darling," Susan purred, sipping her expensive wine. "Imagine what you could do with that kind of money. A proper investment, perhaps. The family business could always use a fresh injection of capital." Mark politely explained that we had already made our investment decisions with financial professionals. This did not go over well. Robertsko profesionals. What do they know about our family's financial strategies? You always were too trusting, Mark. Always let others lead you astray. The conversation quickly devolved into thinly veiled demands. David chimed in. Mark, Sarah, and I have been wanting to expand our real estate portfolio. A few million would really set us up for success. It's for the family, after all. I was seething internally. This wasn't a celebration. It was an interrogation, a thinly disguised shakedown. I caught Mark's eye, and he gave me a subtle shake of his head, indicating he wanted to keep the peace for now. Over the next few weeks, the requests escalated. They weren't just requests, they were expectations. Susan wanted us to finance a new wing for her charity organization. A charity, mind you, that primarily served to boost her social standing. Robert believed we should donate a substantial portion to his failing business ventures, claiming it was our family duty. David and Sarah had a seemingly endless list of luxury items they suddenly needed. A new car, a vacation home, a trust fund for their unborn children. They don't even have kids yet. Mark tried to be diplomatic. He explained that we had our own plans, that we were happy with our choices, that we needed to secure our daughter's future. Each refusal was met with a barrage of guilt trips, accusations of selfishness, and thinly veiled threats. "You're turning your back on your family, Mark. After everything we've done for you," Susan would wail, conveniently forgetting the years of emotional neglect and financial cut dash-offs. IT came to a head at Lily's third birthday party. We had a small gathering at our new house, just a few close friends and, reluctantly, Mark's family. From the moment they walked in, they began critiquing everything. This house is so quaint, Sarah sneered, looking around our cozy living room. Hardly fitting for a lottery winner, is it? Robert, ever the businessman, cornered Mark by the snack table. Look, son, we need to talk seriously. Your mother and I have decided that it's in everyone's best interest if you transfer, say, half of your winnings into a joint family account. We can manage it for you. You're clearly not making sound decisions. Mark, bless his patient heart, finally lost his temper. Manage it for me? You cut me off when I decided not to join your company. You belittled every choice I've made. We won this money, and it's ours to use as we see fit. The argument escalated. Susan joined in, her voice shrill. How dare you speak to your father that way, Mark? We are your family. We deserve a share. It's only fair. Fair, I interjected, unable to hold my tongue any longer. Fair is you supporting Mark's choices, not trying to seize his good fortune. David, ever the opportunist, stepped forward, a smug look on his face. You know, Mark, Dad's right. You're clearly not capable of managing such a large sum. You've always been the dreamer, not the doer. It's a miracle you even won. That was it. My blood boiled. I looked at Mark, his face red with a mixture of anger and hurt. His own family, on his daughter's birthday, trying to bully him into giving them his money. It was disgusting. That's enough, I said, my voice dangerously quiet. Everyone turned to look at me, surprised. I rarely raised my voice around them, preferring to let Mark handle his family. This is our money. Mark worked hard for his entire life, and he deserves every penny of this good fortune. You, on the other hand, have done nothing but criticize and diminish him. And for you to come into our home on our daughter's birthday and try to strong-arm us into giving you our money, it's beyond reprehensible. Susan gasped dramatically. How dare you, you little gold digger? You're clearly manipulating my son. Oh, I'm the gold digger. I shot back, a cold fury rising within me. I was with Mark when he had nothing but student loan debt and a teaching salary. Where were you then? Complaining about his choices. That's where. You didn't want him then, and you certainly don't get to lay claim to his success now. Robert stepped forward, his face mottled with rage. You are insulting your husband's family. You will regret this, young woman. We will make sure you regret this. Oh, I doubt that, I said, a mischievous glint in my eye. Because while you're busy making threats, I have something that might interest you. I walked over to a small, antique wooden box on a shelf in our living room. It was Arthur's, a gift to Mark before he passed. Mark kept some sentimental items in it. I opened it and pulled out a thick, legal-looking envelope. What is that? David asked. His curiosity piqued despite his anger. This, I said, holding up the envelope, is a copy of Arthur's will. Or, more specifically, a specific codicil to his will that only Mark and I knew about. Oh, I doubt that, I said, a mischievous glint in my eye. Because while you're busy making threats, I have something that might interest you. I walked over to a small, antique wooden box on a shelf in our living room. It was Arthur's, a gift to Mark before he passed. Mark kept some sentimental items in it. I opened it and pulled out a thick, legal-looking envelope. What is that? David asked. His curiosity piqued despite his anger. This, I said, holding up the envelope, is a copy of Arthur's will. Or, more specifically, a specific codicil to his will that only Mark and I knew about. Arthur, being the insightful and loving man he was, had anticipated exactly this kind of scenario. He knew his other son and grandsons were greedy. He knew how much Mark wanted to strike out on his own, and how his family would react. 2 years before he died, he added a codicil to his will, witnessed by his lawyer, and a trusted friend. This codicil stipulated that should Mark ever come into a substantial sum of money, defined as anything over $1 million, excluding inheritances, and should his family attempt to extort, demand, or otherwise seize a portion of it, then a trust fund Arthur had secretly established would immediately be activated. This trust fund, valued at a substantial $5 million, would be distributed entirely to Mark, with a specific clause preventing any of his parents or David from accessing or benefiting from it in any way. Furthermore, it explicitly stated that any attempt by Robert, Susan, or David to challenge this clause would result in the forfeiture of their own portions of Arthur's main inheritance, which was considerable. Arthur had left the bulk of his estate, about $50 million, to be divided equally among his two sons and David. But he had a secret plan to protect Mark. I started reading aloud, my voice clear and steady, the legal jargon cutting through the tension in the room like a knife. As I read the part about the forfeiture of their inheritance, their faces went from confused to furious, and then to a sickening shade of pale. What is this nonsense? Robert sputtered, his bravado crumbling. It's not nonsense, Robert, I said, a triumphant smile spreading across my face. It's Arthur's last laugh. He loved Mark, truly loved him, and he knew exactly what you would do. He foresaw your greed, your attempts to control him, and he put a stop to it from beyond the grave. Mark, who had been listening in stunned silence, finally understood. His grandfather, knowing his family, had ensured he was protected not just from poverty, but from their emotional and financial manipulation. A wave of emotion washed over his face, grief for his grandfather, but also immense gratitude. This is an outrage. Susan shrieked, her face contorted. This is a forgery. We'll sue. You're welcome to try, I said calmly. Arthur's lawyer, Mr. Henderson, has all the original documents. He also has instructions to immediately activate the forfeiture clause should any of you challenge this. You stand to lose millions if you even try. David, who had been silent, calculating, suddenly looked like he'd been punched. $50 million divided by 3 was a lot. Losing his share would be catastrophic for his lifestyle. He was the first to understand the implications. Mother, father, he said, his voice surprisingly subdued. Perhaps we should reconsider. Robert and Susan looked at each other, their initial fury giving way to dawning horror. They had been so consumed by their own entitlement and greed that they hadn't considered the consequences. The idea of losing millions, all because they tried to strong-arm Mark out of his lottery winnings, was clearly a bitter pill to swallow. We just wanted to help Mark manage his finances, Susan stammered, a weak attempt to backtrack. Oh, I'm sure, I replied, my voice dripping with sarcasm. Just like you helped him by cutting him off for pursuing his passion. We're perfectly capable of managing our own finances. Thank you very much. And thanks to Arthur, we now have even more security. The party was, predictably, ruined. Robert, Susan, David, and Sarah left shortly after, their faces grim, their grand plan shattered. They didn't even wish Lily a happy birthday. After they left, Mark pulled me into a tight hug. I can't believe it, he whispered, tears in his eyes. Grandpa, he really looked out for me. He always did, honey, I said, hugging him back. He loved you more than they ever did. In the weeks that followed, we received a rather stiff, formal letter from Robert and Susan's lawyer, essentially acknowledging the validity of Arthur's codicil and confirming that they would not be challenging it. The $5 million from Arthur's trust fund was transferred to us. It was an incredible relief, not just for the money, but for the profound validation it gave Mark. His grandfather, from beyond the grave, had protected him from the very people who claimed to love him. We haven't heard from Mark's family since. except for a few passive-aggressive texts from David about family responsibility that we ignored. We blocked them on social media. The silence is golden. We've used the additional funds from Arthur's trust to further secure our future and Lily's education. We've even started a small foundation in Arthur's name, supporting young people who want to pursue careers in education, just like Mark, that it's ironic, really. They try to take our lottery winnings, and in doing so, they not only failed but actually increased our wealth and solidified our independence. Arthur, the kindest and wisest of them all, had the last laugh, and we are forever grateful for his foresight and his enduring love. We are finally free from their toxic influence, living our lives on our own terms with the quiet satisfaction of knowing that karma and a very clever grandfather had our backs.